Hello. I've often talked about how Anglican Catholicism is Catholic. I've not spent a great deal of time talking about how Anglican Catholicism is Anglican. When people ask me what I am, I always say that I'm an Anglican Catholic. I never say that I'm an Anglican, because for me, I think there's a confusion of terms, and that is confusing enough being an Anglican Catholic. And people say, "Oh, you're Anglo-Catholic," and I say, "No, that's C of E. I'm an Anglican Catholic." But I find saying that I am an Anglican gives even greater propensity for confusion. Now, what do I understand Anglican to mean? Well, I look around at the people who call themselves Anglican, and they're usually what I would tend to consider as being the evangelical wing of Anglicanism. And so, what I have, just to prove that I have some understanding of what's going on, I have here my 1662 Book of Common Prayer, which contains 39 articles. I also have my trusty 1549 Book of Common Prayer, and I also have the Book of Homilies. The 1549 Book of Common Prayer contains the ordinal. And now there are a lot of people who call themselves Anglicans who are thinking to themselves, right, he's got the prayer book, he's got the articles, he's got the ordinal, and he's got the Book of Homilies. He's got the Anglican formularies. Indeed, I have. But what I don't do is I do not regard them as defining my Anglicanism. I don't believe that those four things define what it means to be Anglican, the adjective. What I do like to say is that people who have those and hold those as being confessional objects, i.e. that they are normative, that they define their faith, I call them Anglicans. But I am Anglican, and that's as an adjective. You look at the history of the Church of England, or the Church in England, or whatever you like to call it. You understand, of course, that there's a really very, very complicated history in this country. But look at the period from, say, 1534 to 1547. That's largely where you have the separation from Rome to the death of Henry VIII. And you read the King's Book, for example, and you see that there is a sense in which he's trying to be a continuing Catholic, if you like. And anyone in that period, well, would they have been regarded as being Anglican? Now, some people would say yes, and some people would say no. Some people say, well, Anglicanism started properly once the Book of Common Prayer was out. They got the Elizabethan settlement, got the 39 articles in 1571. And that's when Anglicanism properly started. So the question is, what then was happening before? What's happening with Henry VIII? If that wasn't Anglicanism, if that wasn't the Church of England, if that wasn't the Church of England as distinct from Roman Catholic England, what is it? And that's essentially my question. So I see Anglicanism as being something there, having this principle of continuity that goes over the Reformation, back over it, where you've got the Sarum liturgy, for example, which of course is highly unique to the Church of England. Indeed, where I live, the York use was probably more in better use, but Sarum gained a much wider following. And so there is some sense in which Anglicanism is more than just a confessional thing with regard to formulas of the 16th and 17th centuries. And here's perhaps where Anglican Catholicism differs from Anglican evangelicalism, if you like. Not that Anglican evangelicalism is necessarily wrong, but it has a different, what I would say, a sort of different philosophical framework. In Anglican Catholicism, I think there is a certain sense where you have a realistic theology, where we believe in real, tangible presence of Christ in the Eucharist, that we have some form of transubstantiation. Not the transubstantiation necessarily described by Rome, but a form of it. We have the sacraments really doing things, ex opere operato and things like that. And so there is a sense where Anglican Catholicism has an existence that's real and doesn't require strict definition, say that it is somehow attuned to the old liturgies. The prayer book is a fine example, because the prayer book, you've got continuity with Sarum. There's a lot of Catholic teaching in the prayer book. Indeed, part of our Anglican Catholicism is that we regard the 1549 as normative, in that it doesn't have the continental Protestantism influence as much. Now, some would say, that sort of puts you on the level of old Catholics. And again, even then, with old Catholics, they've got the same problems the Church of England have, that they've now fragmented into all kinds of strange innovations. But we don't. Far more normative for us is the affirmation of St. Louis. And even then, that requires a lot of unpacking. And indeed, if you look at the churches that affirmed it, they have a very different character. They will have different characters. But what we see in Anglican Catholicism is a principle of unity, which is what's happening with our G3 and with hopefully with our relationship with the Polish National Catholic Church and the Union of Scranton, where we have unifying precepts. And while we don't perhaps have completely precise terminology yet, or at all, we certainly have an idea of what it is to be Anglican as an adjective that qualifies our Catholicism. So that's where we are, and that's why we call ourselves Anglican. We pray in English. Some of us pray in Latin, some of us do the Sarum Rite in Latin. But that's, again, there is a very strong English sense. Now, of course, I've got Welsh brethren, and they'll say, well, what about us? And I'll say, well, you've got the Book of Common Prayer. Where did that come from? It didn't come from Wales, though there is a use of Bangor, I believe. There is a Welsh usage. So we shouldn't see Englishness in its horrible colonial sense, sort of trying the British Empire, but as a sort of a way, a method, a sort of way of thinking, if you like. It's how we get into the mind of Christ, because our thoughts are in English, and we try and understand the thoughts of Christ in English. So I hope that sort of gives us an idea, certainly why I don't see myself as being an Anglican, though I hope you think that I am Anglican in some way, shape or form. Anyway, God bless you. God bless you if you are an Anglican and proud of it. God bless you, that God may reveal his love and his will to you in the formulas that you cherish so much. God bless you if you are confused about Anglicanism, and may God help you see that you are a part of a large club who don't understand, but nonetheless have great affinity and affection for you and for the world. And God bless you, that we may all Catholics of every stripe, and all Christians indeed, we may all be together, ut unum sint, before the throne of grace. God bless you. Please pray for me.